District of Conservation is sponsored by the Committee for a Constructive Tomorrow, better known as CFACT. To learn more about our sponsor, head over to cfact.org. Thanks for listening to the program. Welcome to District of Conservation. I'm your host, Gabriella Hoffman. This podcast offers a sober examination into all things hunting, fishing, shooting sports, energy, environment, and the public policy surrounding it. And this podcast also specializes in original interviews that you won't hear elsewhere. Here's what I have for you today. I am so thrilled to welcome this episode's guest, one of my longtime friends in the outdoor industry and someone I admire and look up to myself, Stephanie Hickey. And if you've worked in the outdoor industry, you have probably encountered Stephanie. She's worked a lot in the big game hunting space. She's worked for private sector companies, many different hats that she's worn, and she's very involved now. And as of January 1st of this year, she is now POMA's executive director. Stephanie and I have been friends for almost a decade when she used to live here in the Washington, D.C. area. I miss her dearly, but we know that with her husband's commitments, they have to move a lot. So Stephanie, I'm so thrilled to have you here. Welcome to POMA as a board member. So thrilled to have you helping us with the organization. But I think my listeners would love to know your backstory, but it's good to have you on finally on the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me, Gabby. I'm glad we finally get to sit down and chat. I am originally from Montana, so I grew up hunting and just really loved the outdoors. And I was so fortunate that professionally my career took me to DC for politics, but I was able to get a job in NRA's ILA, the political side of the National Rifle Association. And I did that for a couple of years, but was able to transition that into being a spokesman for the NRA. And I was one of the very first people to ever work on NRA social media. So that was back in the good old days when it was fun to do social media. Not a lot of companies were doing that. And I got to grow NRA's Facebook page. And from there, everything just kind of took off for me professionally. And I have worked, as you mentioned, for both private companies as well as nonprofits, and just really found my niche in doing a lot of crisis communications. But my heart has always been with nonprofits in the outdoor space. And so when the opportunity came up to work for POMA, it was something that I feel very passionate about. And I'm so fortunate to be with this organization. And I am excited now to be at the helm as executive director and to see what we can do for this organization to continue to push it forward as the landscape continues to change for outdoor communicators.
It is changing a lot. And you were working with us on the communication side for a little bit too. So you weren't just green first time into the organization. So you already had familiarity. And as a board, we were like, yes, absolutely, Stephanie would be perfect. And we all are very excited. But yes, it is changing. And you've probably noticed there is a lot of bias against certain forms of hunting, not only here in the United States, but I've been looking and watching, Britain. A lot of our friends in the UK are having to deal with certain forms of bans, which is crazy to me. Like one of the early places that really popularized hunting is facing setbacks there. All over Europe, Venezuela, now coming out of socialism, they had their wildlife decimated for decades. So fishing industry might return back there. So all over the world, not just in the United States, like we do see true conservation efforts kind of threatened in some way or challenged or perhaps coming back. And I think as outdoor communicators, we have a duty to look and see, report kind of underreported stories. I'm unusual where I don't do product reviews. I've never really been one to do product reviews. I've done occasionally that, but I like storytelling more. And our membership likes to do product reviews, storytelling, policy. And I think we'll be expanding kind of more of our reach. And we've even included people, in the fishing industry, because that's my background more so with having done recreational fishing. We have people who do ranching and rodeo that also have crossover into the outdoor industry. So we've expanded and grown POMA, I think, even in our rebuilding phase. And I think you're the perfect person to help us, to steer us in that continued positive direction.
Thank you. And yeah, you really touched on the uniqueness about POMA is that it's not just one mold. I think a lot of people sometimes think POMA and they think those outdoor writers who just do gear reviews, but this organization is so much more. And the members who join POMA have such a very diverse background that I am so excited. I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here and talk about, we have this summer is our conference, our annual meeting. It is branded the POMA Summit. And it's the end of May 26th through 28th here in Minnesota. That's where I live, just right outside the Twin Cities in Hugo, Minnesota. And this annual meeting, our summit, is going to be so wonderful because it will be an opportunity for all of these different outdoor media communicators to come together and network with these diverse backgrounds and to learn from each other, to grow, and to have all of these different experiences that we will offer. We'll have different seminars, different like sit down and learn opportunities, as well as hands-on opportunities. There's going to be a turkey hunt. There's going to be a range experience. There's going to be a fishing experience. So there's going to be all these different things for people with different backgrounds to do and to experience. And that's the best thing about POMA, is that there's a little bit of something there for everyone.
There really is. And I've been involved in the organization, I think, since 2018. So I'm coming up on 8 years of involvement myself. And I was drawn to it. And listeners are familiar and know this, that it is one of the few places I feel not only like spiritually at home with in terms of my conservation philosophy and even politically to ideology. And I have no problems with people who have different thinkings than me. And I think we do attract a lot of people. And even amongst, I would say kind of our ideological bent, we even have like diverse opinions amongst our members too, like for a little different issues. So it's not everyone thinking everything the same all of the time. We have like large differing views, but we've always historically attracted people. And I want you to talk more about like, why is POMA so unique? I know there's other competing ones. There's OWAA. The regional organizations have kind of disappeared, kind of gone the way of the dinosaurs. There used to be CIOPA, which was like the Southeastern Outdoor Professional Media Association, a handful of others. So I only see, and maybe in my view, I only see like some of the bigger media organizations out there. I don't see like smaller regional ones, with the exception of a Glow. But how important is it to keep organizations like POMA afloat, sustaining with new members, reaching out to new freelance journalists, reporters, content creators, corporate members, especially, as I mentioned, like we have threats sometimes. I wouldn't say federally we have any threats too much. Thankfully, knock on wood, we have like good managers and stewards of wildlife leading the federal government. You do have to worry about states. And then, of course, the animal rights groups are pushing back more than ever, like we saw with the recent Florida bear hunt. So what do POMA members have to do, or possibly would-be members? What would you like to see outdoor communicators do through a vehicle like POMA with all these different challenges, or all these exciting different products actually too coming about as well?
Yeah, POMA's been around now for 20 years, and POMA is not regional. We are open. We even have a few international members. So one thing that's unique about POMA is that with our different events, so I mentioned our summit, we also have different events throughout the year for POMA members to get together. And it's the camaraderie, it's the building a network, it's learning from each other, both in your craft, learning other crafts, figuring out ways to partner with other people. And then it's also working together with our corporate partners, those companies within our industry or who are industry adjacent, to not only get the products for the gear reviews, but to also find different opportunities that create business opportunities, things like that. And one thing that I love about POMA and about POMA members is it's that mentorship. We have a lot of people within our organization who have been around all 20 years of POMA. And then we have a lot of people who are newer to the industry, and being able to watch people work together, mentor, grow, and also grow a little bit outside of their area of expertise is so exciting to watch. And that's something that I think people often forget about in today's age with the internet, is you just are like, oh, I'm just going to get on social media and DM a company, or a company just looks at these influencers and starts sending products to influencers. And we start really missing out on that mentorship of writers and people who are specialized in their craft and growing their craft. And so that's one thing that POMA really works on, is ensuring the integrity of the product and mentoring the next generation of traditional outdoor communicators.
Speak to outdoor influencers if you can. You don't have to, call out anyone personally, and I'm not asking you to do that, but I've kind of seen this weaning off of influencer marketing, over reliance on it, because some people see that it's not a good return on investment. Perhaps there's a misrepresentation by the influencer who is promoting a product or a service or a brand. Do you think it sustains with how social media is changing? Because like you and I have both like handled social media in the past, have followed trends, like are familiar with it. Like Instagram is changing heavily. I've seen like Facebook bounce back. But I don't necessarily think, I don't think influencers are going to be obsolete, but I don't think they're going to be playing as much of a role in the wider outdoor industry, let's say conversation digitally, as much as they used to. What are your thoughts on that as someone who handled that and did that?
I think early on, influencers were great, but it got so oversaturated to this point now. I feel like if you open up your social media feed, all you see are influencers, especially on Instagram. I feel like I hardly even see my friends on Instagram. All I see are sponsored ads and posts, and it's everyone with the same product almost. Like I never see all these different products because it's just one company sending out all the same influencers, the same products. And it doesn't resonate with the consumer because now they can tell it's ads. It's not as organic as it used to be. So I do think that companies will move away from the influencer model. And I think that we'll kind of start seeing more of the traditional model start working again. And so I do think that it is important, once again, for organizations like POMA to continue to foster these relationships with writers and with videographers, photographers, all of the outdoor media to continue to promote the professionalism of people within this craft.
How important also, and this is kind of going off of my experience being in POMA, because I think I'm perhaps one of the few members who also works in non-endemic media, so outside of the outdoor industry. And you keep hearing the news about certain daily newspaper shuttering down, like the Pittsburgh Gazette. And I think they had an outdoor column for a long, long time. So that's ceasing operations as we're talking. And it's sometimes hard to break into outdoor media. I've noticed this, like some of the legacy outlets, which are great, and they've been around for many, many years. They've changed hands. They have different management, but they only want like product contents. And I remember a couple places where I had been placed, which I loved, and it was great placement, good exposure, but all they wanted me to do were listicles. And I was like, I'm not a listicle gal. I'm a storyteller. I'm an investigative journalist. I want to have the opportunity. So that's why I've been able to reach out to non-endemic media. And while it is important to publish in outdoor media, I think we also, and I want to try to encourage our fellow members in POMA and anyone who's an outdoor communicator to do this. I think it's valuable to talk to non-endemic media and try to get printed in non-endemic media using the POMA label, the POMA membership, however you want to do it, because we have to reach those people in the middle, the 80% that are not swayed for hunting, especially, or perhaps gun ownership. That 80% that we keep hearing about. So what are your thoughts on like trying to encourage POMA members and just the wider outdoor communicator space to kind of broaden their horizons, while also, of course, keeping in line with trying to get published in outdoor media too?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, that not only is it important for us to continue to support the outdoor sports, to support gun ownership, to support hunting, is to be able to find those people in the middle to continue to influence them and show them why what we believe in is good, is right, is okay. But also for us as professionals, is to not just continue to preach to the choir, to continue to put our writing in front of people who already read what we like to talk about, but to find those more neutral outlets to be able to push stories out there. I love that. I love seeing articles when I open up like a woman's magazine that has something a little bit edgy about hunting or about outdoor sports. I think that that's very important, and I think that it's a good challenge for a writer to be able to try to take something very specific and put that in front of an audience who maybe not be used to reading something like that, and figuring out how to tell that story in a way that's compelling and persuasive. So I love seeing stories like that. And you specifically, Gabby, do such a good job of it.
I try, and I don't want to be the only one. And what was so interesting to me, I don't know if you followed this, but did you see that crazy story about bear attacks in Japan?
No, I didn't.
You didn't? Okay, you will love this. For Cliff Notes version. I talked about it with my friend Travis Thompson, who talked about Florida bears, because there was a lot of controversy about that. So in terms of like non-endemic publications talking about the story, I was very impressed by the coverage of CBS Morning News, or one of the morning shows on CBS. And one of the anchors, who's now the evening, Tony DeCopel, I think is his name. He's now taking over like the evening reporting. So he actually talked about bear hunting quite positively. He said, because things have been so chaotic, there have been over 100 injuries in Japan, in the island of Hokkaido, that there has to be some management tool in place. And I was like, seeing a mainstream media outlet, a legacy media outlet, talk about that, acknowledge that like it's not enough just to hire snipers or government agents to cull the bear population numbers. Like maybe there has to be a hunting season, even a small or highly regulated one. And they're all highly regulated, as we all know. So just to see that coverage was very fascinating to me. So I think like our issues kind of percolate even at an international level. Even though like animal rights activists are saying like this is so outdated, we don't need this in Florida, we don't need this in all these states. Even though black bears, as you know, Stephanie, being from Montana, which also has grizzly bears, that black bears are the most plentiful of bear in North America. Like there's too many of them. Like that's a problem for many states.
Yeah, no, I love when our messages from our community can get out into mainstream media and that people can start to understand, especially the conservation model. I think that that's so important, and that's probably the most easily digestible piece of information for non-hunters, non-outdoor people to understand. So that's wonderful.
Of course, we're going to be having our summit, as you alluded to, but POMA also goes to different conferences. And a perk of membership is when you successfully get your membership, regardless of the class or the designation you have, you are able to use that membership and go to conferences. So listeners are aware that I have used my POMA membership across the years to go to ICAST, SHOT Show, Safari Club International, which you and I are both going to be going to. So if anyone's going and wants to meet up with us and to learn more about POMA, we will both be there and happy to talk about it. But you can use your membership, and there's other membership perks as well, but like it helps you get access to a lot of these great shows that are usually closed off to consumers, sometimes very exclusive, and some are more open to consumers and not just buyer to buyer, B2B there. So where is POMA going to have a presence? We are going to have a presence at SHOT Show, right? I want you to talk about Base Camp. And then what other shows do you think that POMA representatives will be at this year?
Yeah, like you mentioned, one of the perks of membership of POMA is that you do get a press card. Now, not just anybody can join POMA. You do have to be a member of the outdoor media. There is an application process, and every potential member of POMA is vetted. So that's what gives credibility to POMA membership. And then you will receive a press card, and that press card validates you as media. So almost every outdoor trade show will allow you to get in as media with this POMA press card. So that's wonderful. So POMA has what we call our base camps. So they're meetups, they're gatherings for POMA members as well as non-POMA members. And we often have a speaker or two and some fun activities. So our first base camp for 2026 will be at SHOT Show. It's going to be Wednesday of SHOT Show at 4 p.m. So once again, you don't have to be a POMA member to attend. It's free. We will have 4 different speakers. We will have door prizes, and we will have complimentary beverages. It's beer. It'll be fun. And it'll just be an hour to network and hear some great behind the scenes information from some really important people within the industry, and just a great time. So I would encourage everyone to attend. We'll also, like Gabby said, both Gabby and I will be at SCI. There won't be an official POMA event there, but we will be there to get together with anyone. Same thing at ICAST. We will have POMA members there at ICAST. ICAST does their media meetup that we'll just kind of piggyback on. And we will have more information for other base camps and other activities will be on our website, and we'll push them out on social media as they happen and as we have more information to release throughout the year.
I want you to talk more about your backstory, because I think it's great to know these official details. But I want people to get a glimpse at like why I've been so like honored to be your friend and get to know you all these years. You have hunted not only in America, you've hunted abroad, and like you are downplaying like a lot of your accomplishments, in my opinion. So I want people to know like, where have you hunted? You've hunted in some incredible, amazing places. You've seen conservation firsthand. Like, what have been some of your memorable hunts?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I've hunted some different places. I think my most memorable hunt for sure is South Africa. Anyone who's ever hunted Africa will tell you you can't put words to it until you've been there. And once you've been there, it is life-changing. And you never go just once. Once you go, you want to go back over and over and over again. And it's so hard to put into words because it's not even what you hunt. It's just the entire experience. Hunting in South Africa is just so different than the United States. Yeah, I think another place I've hunted that was very interesting was hunting in Italy. The culture there is just so different. The traditions are so different. I did a traditional hog hunt. Just out in the wilderness of Italy, it was very masculine. Often I find I hunt a lot by myself as a female, And that's very confusing a lot when I go places with guides where they're not used to women going alone. And most women who do hunt either hunt with groups of women or they bring their husband along. My husband's active duty military, so he's not always available to travel with me. And so we've actually never gone on a hunt together. So I normally go alone, and I think that's very confusing for guides, or I just go completely by myself and do self-guided hunts. So it's something I really enjoy, and I think that's been my passion, and that's what's really driven me to try to become more active in this industry to show that you don't just have to be the mold of what people expect. You don't have to be a middle-aged white man to be successful in this industry, that anybody can do it if you put your heart into it and you're passionate about it. And I think that it's also good from a communicator's perspective. Like when I was a spokesman for the NRA and I was in my mid to late 20s, even early 30s, and I would go on camera and talk about NRA, it was very confusing for people who are interviewing me, especially people when I would talk to like mainstream media, because I did not fit the mold of what they expected a gun owner to look like or what they expected a hunter to look like. And it always made me laugh, like, where are these preconceived notions coming from? Because it's so antiquated, in my opinion, because in this day and age, anyone can be a hunter, anyone can be a gun owner. And I think that it's important that we continue to tell those stories, that we don't all have to fit in that exact same mold. And I have 3 young children, and I want to continue to raise them to believe that they can do anything they want to do, and you don't have to fit into this mold just because that's the way it's always been done in the past.
Speaking of your 3 adorable children who I've all met, I've had the fortune of meeting the twins too. It was the last time I was at SCI. I think the last time I saw you was February 2024 at the last SCI conference I went to, convention I went to. And so I'm glad like we're rectifying that gap in getting together then. But, you know, as you mentioned, you know, being a mother to 3 young littles, have they taken an interest so far in hunting? Have you taken to the field yet, or not quite yet? They're still too young.
My twins are only 2, so they
still have a little ways away.
Very much too young for that. My oldest just turned 6, and we are getting into airsoft guns. He is not quite ready for that, and this was actually a question I used to get a lot when I was a spokesman at the NRA: is what age is the appropriate age for a firearm for a child? And I would always say it depends on the child, and it really does, because each child matures differently. Each child shows an attention span differently, shows an interest differently. And for me, as much as I wish that my oldest was much more interested, his focus is not there, his maturity level is not there. So he is just not quite ready to be the child out in the field. Whereas I think my girl twin, by like 4 years old, is going to be ready to go, because she is just one of those children who can hyper focus and pay attention and follow the rules when she wants to. So it just really depends on the kid. But unfortunately for me, my oldest isn't quite there yet. But I think at least one of the 3 will get there sometime soon, hopefully.
Before I ask you to kind of give like a final overview of like what POMA is doing and what you hope to bring there as a change agent, do you have any hunts planned this year? I know with your busy schedule, helming the organization, you have to fit in some time. And Minnesota has a repository, or not a repository, but plentiful outdoor opportunities, including fishing opportunities. So do you have a plan to also add some of those activities into your priorities this year?
Yeah, I am still trying to figure out what I want to do this year. I try to always get out and hunt at least one new species every year to just try something new. So that's always my big excitement. And then typically in the past, we've always lived, as I mentioned, my husband's military, so we move around a lot, and we try to always, when we move, live in the country. So I try to always get a deer in my backyard, because it's fun for me with the children to be able to take them out, especially with my oldest, to kind of see the whole process of here's the animal, here's what we do with the animal, and then we eat the animal, and to go through that whole circle of life. But we've recently relocated to the Minneapolis suburbs, so that part's not going to happen, but still figuring out what my big trip will be this fall, but hoping to do something fun this year. But right now my focus is on getting through SHOT Show and SCI convention, and then I'm sure once I walk through, especially at SCI convention, something exciting will catch my eye.
As it always does at SCI. Like I wish I could. I admit I can't afford most of those trips. I'm still not at that level, but maybe one year, sometime in the distant future, I can afford to go somewhere exotic. I really want to go to Patagonia. I've seen friends like go to Chile and Argentina. I'm like, I want to go trout fish there. It looks amazing with all the glaciers and not right now. It's hard to get to as well. I was looking at the logistics. I was like, that is so many changeovers. It's like, oh, I don't have the bandwidth to do that with my commitments too for work. So it's like, but 1 year. Stephanie, as we round out the conversation, anything else about POMA you want to touch on? We do need an intern, I think you said. Like, so anyone listening, if they know a college age student, but kind of final thoughts, if you can, about like what you hope to bring to the organization, working with outdoor communicators for so long. Like, include some final thoughts if you can.
Yeah, definitely. I am looking for an intern for POMA. So if you yourself are a college age student looking for college credit, there is an unpaid internship available at POMA that we will work with you and your college to be able to get you whatever credit you need for your college credits. And yeah, with POMA, I would say if you are in the outdoor space as an outdoor communicator, I would encourage you to go to our website, professionaloutdoormedia.org, and check out our membership application and apply for membership. POMA has a lot of great benefits. We also offer POMA perks, which as a member, you can get different perks, including right now we offer a membership as a guide fitter insider. So that will give you discounts on a bunch of different products. You get another POMA perk is with the NWTF. You get a complimentary digital membership. So there's lots of different things like that, as well as being able to attend our summit, as well as being able to attend different events throughout the year. We're going to have some different expeditions, which are activities where POMA members will get an exclusive opportunity to be able to apply to go on. We're going to have a fishing trip. We're going to have a turkey hunt, a lot of different opportunities that if you get selected, they'll be paid for you to go, or the bulk of it will be paid for. So lots of different perks for you as an individual to be a POMA member. And then as far as if you run a business, if you work for a big company, corporate partners, lots of different ways that we can connect you with the outdoor media. So please look into POMA or reach out. And yeah, that's really the best I can do to tell you all about POMA, but definitely reach out to us on our website, follow us on social media, and I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to chat more about the Professional Outdoor Media Association.
Anytime. Absolutely. And everything Stephanie alluded to or talked about will be in the show notes for listeners to check and digest. But as she mentioned, go to the Base Camp meetup at SHOT Show if you're attending SHOT Show. Hunt us down at SEI in Nashville. I'll be there for a good number of days. Stephanie will be there for the entire week. So you won't be able to, you'll have an opportunity to see us and find us there. And we can talk about POMA and whatever else is happening in current events in life and our plans for 2026. So Stephanie, thank you so much for coming on. It's long overdue to have you on the program. Happy we made this happen. I wish you success. And it's going to be wonderful to work with you in this capacity.
Thank you, Gabby.
If you enjoyed this installment of District of Conservation, I would love to know your feedback. Send it my way. Please be sure to leave us reviews on Apple, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are played, and also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to never miss a beat nor a guest announcement. Thanks so much for listening to District of Conservation. I hope you have a wonderful day, and please share the podcast to those who may be interested in learning more about these critical natural resources, environment, energy issues.